Righto, today's guest, we have a man with many connections. He is the founder and managing director of High Risk Solutions with his wife. And on the side, he also does Ironmans for fun. How you going, David Nunn?
Just started the Ironman, so yeah, no, loving it. So just being around some great people that are doing it, things like that. My big one's in March, so I've got a full Ironman then, and just stoked to be around that scene. And there's really cool people, and be able to still barbecue and drink tequila and do what they do.
Yeah, I love what you said. We were just on the phone the other day and you were saying that, like, I'm not there to be the fastest. I'm there to, prove to myself that I can do it. And at the end of the day, have a tequila and cigar and kick on.
It's pretty much it. And the biggest thing is that my kids see that it's possible. Since I've started training triathlons and things like that, my son's done a 30-minute plank at his gym, and his whole goal in life is about to be better than me. So he will be, but I'm not going to tell him that.
Yeah, right. A 30-minute plank. That's
Yeah. I tried to outdo it. I got 2.5 minutes. I was like, nah, I got things to do. Yeah.
100%. Well, let's kick into it. I think today, I guess if you want to start off, kind of like, what's your origin story? Where'd you start, and how did you get to a point where High Risk Solutions came into the radar?
Okay. So first of all, I was born into business. So my family owned some fishing tackle shops on the Central Coast in New South Wales. And from the time I could talk and reach the cash register, I walked and talked and worked with people, packed bait before school, like did little jobs for 10 cents to get money. I had a car washing business, or shamming cars when they came out of the car wash. So my father was a politician and a businessman and a war veteran. And I just looked up to him and just decided that business was going to be the way to go. I just, from the time I could talk, I loved talking. I liked people. I liked learning about things. So just I grew up in an industrial estate. So we had our shop was attached to our house in Tuggerah, and it was building a big new estate as we were growing up. So there was a massive construction time. So I used to go around and hustle all the people and do all the little things, and just always out every day from dusk till dawn doing something different. And I learned skills then on business and how to things. When I got a bit older, I refined them. I got a little bit naughty there for a few years, and I suppose my father died when I was 12, who was a great mentor to me, very disciplined and tough. So I had a few years to free reign and do what I want. When I was about 24, 22, I came to really come out of my shell. I lost my nan to cancer, and I went away and worked on a farm with my uncle, and he asked me a lot of hard truth questions. So about what I was up to and running amok. Legacy and DVA pulled me aside and said, "Hey, what you're doing is probably not good. Do you want to, is there any courses you want to do or anything like that?" I said, "No, I'm pretty good." And they said, "Come on, let's have a look at it." So I sat down and I said, "Yeah, all right, I wouldn't mind doing scaffold and I wouldn't mind doing investigations." So I did my Cert 4 in factual investigations, and I did my scaffold ticket. Doing my scaffold ticket, I met a lot of colourful characters. I was already doing brickies, labouring and scaffolding and things like that. It was a pretty cool environment, I suppose. Leaving school at an early age in year 9-ish, not being able to read and write that well, I always try to excel with speaking in my hands. I've had work ethic since I was a little kid. It's just something that's bred into our family, and it's just something that you don't know any different. You get up, you do your job, you understand what profit is, you understand what loss is, and you understand that if you want to get further, you have to have a side hustle or something like that. So that was pretty cool. 24, something clicked in my brain, and I said to myself, geez, I'm going to be 25 next year. I really better do something with my life. And I went out and I went to the mines. And started a new life for myself. I went over to Western Australia. I stayed on a mate's floor. I had no accommodation. I went to Newman. I rocked up. Stuff come out on a tractor. And I was like, oh, man, this is small in the town I'm from. I said to these guys, "Oh, can you give us a lift into town?" And they're like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm here to get a job, scaffolder." They're like, "Yeah, right." So then I met a guy who was pissed in the pub one night and said I'd do a week for free to get into the mines. He gave me a week in a hot shed in Western Australia, cutting tube, like the worst job ever, wearing overalls. I was like, "This sucks." I did my week. He ended up paying me, and I ended up getting a job in the mines. I was wasn't the best scaffolder. I was, I was working with him. Then one of my friends got shafted by someone else, and he said, "Hey, can you back me up on a shutdown and just be me to IC because you're good with people?" I went and helped him out, and then BHP over there said, "Oh, I think Nunny should run it," and then they gave me that area, which was Area C, and I started doing that. And then another guy came in who was heaps better than me, and then I worked with him. It just lucky to work with a lot of good people over there. I had a really good time in Western Australia. There was about 40 people from my hometown in the little town we were in. Then, unfortunately, some people started killing themselves that I worked with. We had 6 people in a short period of time committed suicide, just working away, life being away from their family and things like that. And I just, one day I just said, "Oh, fuck, this isn't worth it." I just started, feeling like I wasn't happy in the place anymore. So I just gapped it to the Gold Coast. So I left Western Australia. I was living on the Gold Coast running amok, and then split up with my girlfriend at the time and went over to Thailand, and I was going to go backpacking around the world. I didn't get past Thailand. Spent a year there. It was a bit of fun, getting beaten up and thinking that I could make a career out of kickboxing. But, it was I just love the camaraderie, the training and the friends that you meet. I was never good at it. So after that, I came back. I came back to Australia to see State of Origin. I met my missus. She came back over to Thailand with me for a little while, 6 weeks. Then we hit it off, and we really had fun. And then we came back to Australia. I went to the gold mine down in Orange. I worked for a guy who was running a company, and he did a really shit job of it. We're asking for PPEs, telling us to go steal it from the stores and stuff like that. And I pulled him up one day and just said, "Hey, mate, this is not the best way to be running a business." And he said, "If you can run a business better, you go fucking do it." And I was like, "Oh, that's a bit harsh, but yeah, right. Okay, I might do that." So I just started getting in my head. And when we first drafted the first thing, we were going to call it, is one of my friends I started it with, we were going to call it ANZACs, Australian New Zealand Scaffolding Crews. And then we got told very quickly we couldn't have that. And I was like, yeah, I get that. We on night shift for 9 months out there, just planned and devised and said how we were going to do things differently and talk to people out there. And it was pretty cool because I was watching a project. They're just wasting money. And I just didn't know why they were wasting money. But then after the project, I found out they were ghosting hours and they were doing things like that. So I realized that, that was their business model. So the biggest thing to me was being home with your family every night. So that was the big thing for me. So I was like, "Oh, fuck, I can't bring my family over from Colombia." And, because we went back over to Colombia after that, I can't bring my family over from Colombia and then say, "Hey, I'm jumping on a plane for 6 weeks." So I looked at the map and spoke to people, and everyone's like, "Oh, Gladstone's got the biggest industry. You could be home with your family." So I was like, "Gladstone it is." So Gladstone's pumping while I'm overseas. I'm showing my missus photos of 1770 and Emu Park and say, "Look where we're moving to." Anyway, so we get the nod. We come over here. We come from Colombia. I got a job with UGL, my first shutdown. So I hooked up with UGL and a couple other people. I came over to Australia. My wife came over to Australia. We're all keen to go. The boom was over. We got into Gladstone. We pulled into the yacht club, and all these business guys were talking. I said, "Oh, how's things in the town?" They said, "This is the worst town ever. Everyone's going broke." I said, "Oh, better get a second opinion." Everyone's like, "Oh, this is so bad. We couldn't get accommodation anywhere." So I didn't have accommodation sorted. We stayed in a B&B. We ended up renting a place on the hill for $980 a week, a house, overlooking QAL. And my wife's like, "This is not what you promised me." Even though she was from a big city, Bogota, this is not what you promised me. And I was like, "Oh." So we're in the house for a little while. Then one day we were driving to Brisbane, and we turned the wrong way and ended up going down towards Boyne Island. And we went over that hill and seen the river going around on just a magnificent day. And my wife's like, "Why don't we live here?" So we started looking around. Then all the house price started dropping. Everyone was freaking out. I saved up a bit of money for a house. I was I used to go out every day and annoy people in Gladstone. So I'm in Gladstone every morning. I'd be in my high vis. I'd be out there. I had no work, but I'd be out annoying people at the shopping centres, at the car parks, at everywhere. I'd be going into businesses. Hey, do you need scaffolders? Do you need scaffold? No one needed anything. It was coming to the end. It was the end of the boom. Everybody was just worried about it. I was in at AdPac down on Hanson Road, and some guy came in and said, "Do you want to buy some scaffold?" And they said, "We hire scaffold." I followed him out and said, "Oh, what do you got to sell?" He said, "I've got a little bit of gear that we've just got to get out by the end of the week." I said, "Oh, yeah, I'll come and have a look at it." So I went and had a look at it. It's about 80 tonne of scaffold. I said, "How much do you want for it?" He's like, "Oh, 20 tonne." I said, 20 grand. I said, "I'll give you 3 grand." And he's like, "Okay." And I was like, mad. So then I was like, shit, I don't have a yard. So there was a sign in Mount Larkham that said 40 acres for sale or 20 acres for sale. So I went to that guy and said, "Hey, can I hire this yard off you just for a little bit while I get sorted?" He said, "Yeah, sweet." So I dropped the container on it. I got all this gear. I moved it over there. I'm moving all the gear over, and the guy comes out to me and he says to me, "Do you have scaffolders?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you want to look at a job for me?" I was like, "Yeah, sweet." So I went into Orica and had a look at a job for him. And then we hired him all the scaffold back again with our scaffolders and started doing more work for them. So then we went from 3 scaffolders to 20 scaffolders there. So it was pretty cool. I'd save 100 grand for a house during this time, and we had some other money put away. And then a friend rang me up from Gympie and said, "Hey, this guy's got 100 tonne of scaffold sitting there. It's in really good condition. The wife's trying to sell it. The husband passed away. They want 200 grand for it." So I got 100 grand out of the bank, which was a nightmare at that time. We're in this little shitty van, a little SsangYong van. We drive down to Gympie. I didn't tell my wife that I had the money under the thing. Went down there and I said, got out. I said, "Are you the decision maker?" "Oh, no, my mum is." I said, "All right, get your mum out here." So the lady comes out. I said, "I got 100 grand under my front seat. I'll buy the whole lot off you for 100 grand now." And she's like, "If you've got 100 grand under your front seat, we can do a deal." And the son's like, "No, no, no," because he was trying to make a bit of money out of it. Anyway, then we shook hands. I got the money out. My missus was like, "That's our money for our house. What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, it'll be right." So anyway, I got all the gear up here and I had a job in Lammermoor. I was doing a big gutter restoration. Anyway, the cyclone hit. So the cyclone hit Yeppoon and I'd had all my gear in Rocky and they wanted to take it down to Yeppoon. I said, no, no, no. I said, if there's a cyclone coming, leave it in Yeppoon, leave it in Rocky and we'll bring it down. We'll bring it down after it. So they're like, oh, they said it'll fizz out. I said, I don't care. I'm not taking the risk. That's a risk I don't want to deal with. I'm young in business, but that's not a risk. They said, okay. So anyway, the Wednesday after the cyclone happened was big. I chucked up the front of the beaches and I put a sign on it. And my phone didn't stop ringing in Rocky for 2 years. So that's how Rockhampton got built. I was working out in the mines doing stuff and coming back, and I think we did about 250 houses in a 9-month period. All the boys that didn't have work here went to, because Gladstone was quiet, we all went to Rocky, and there was a team of us that just stayed in shit hotels and in pubs and just smashed out jobs there. Like we could build them, they'd just do a roof and we'd go stripping it in the afternoon and just keep moving it and moving it. So it was pretty cool. Chris, my Rocky manager, came on up there. The wages dropped in the mines and they went down to paying tradesmen like 25 or 30 bucks an hour flat rates and things like that. And he said, I think his pay rate out there was $1,050 a week. And he said, I said, I pay more than that in town. And he's like, well, I'm coming home. So he came and ran that for me and he's been looking after that ever since. We just kept going. We picked up more things in Gladstone. We learned a lot more. We've had very good friends in the thing. So like, as I always say, Terry Purcell was just iconic for me. Getting to know him, the level of questions I had to ask that I just didn't have anyone else to ask. And he was just always giving me that information that I needed. Mitch Purcell later on, you know, is now we talk still. So even though Terry's gone, he's still doing that. Anthony Granitewood was a good one from Multitrade. So he's always been there for me, and we're about the same age and just young in business and looking after each other. It's just good that someone's got your back in that kind of thing. So probably the biggest success to my business was my wife. You don't realise that till later on because she's always there and she's nagging you things. Hey, you should do things this way. And I'm like, nah, shit's right. And I'll go do it my way, and then I have to go do it her way. And I'm like, oh yeah. So my wife's a very smart business person. She's got a postgrad in international corporations. She built a business in Colombia with 300 workers in it, a construction company. So, she's very smart with a lot of things, and she pushed us for the compliance side of it. So we're a very immature company at the start with site policies, ISO, all that kind of things. That's, she was like, you've got to get everything out of your head and into the web and into everything that we've got. So everybody needs to know your vision, so they can say, these are my roles and responsibilities. These are what it is to work for us, so that it's not just in your head and someone does something wrong and you're like, hey, I didn't tell you. So that's all she does. Or she does a lot, but she just works on that thing. We've got 2 HSE people in the company. We've been through a lot of people. We've just got an awesome team around us. Like, I was able to go away in Spain for a month in January. I had 2 questions asked me on WhatsApp. I just started a group and I got 2 questions asked me, and they were like basic questions. Everyone did an amazing job. It's just I did get offered to sell the company not long ago, but I just love waking up, going into work. I just love being around people, and I just love I love being around competent people. That's just a massive thing for me. So one of the other big changes in the company was Candy, so our admin manager. Uh, Earlier on in the piece, I had a friend of mine doing the accounting. It didn't turn out too well for me. So I was paying him and he had 2 other jobs and he was working remotely. One day the tax man rang me up and said, hey mate, yeah, I was 350 grand just in the cyclone. And I was like, I just paid you 200 grand. He goes, yeah, I was 350 grand. I just sat down and I was just buggered. Like I was just flat. I was like someone had just taken all the air out of my sails, and I was like, oh shit, what do I do? I was like, well, get back up and do what you do. Like, I'm too far in this to. I've borrowed money. My missus threw in money. I'd put everything I had in it. I was like, failure's not an option. This is just what I have to do. So I got up and I regrouped, and I found all these invoices hadn't been invoiced and stuff like that. And because I was trying to be the guy on the tools, not the guy in the office, I'd overlooked a lot of things as my position as the GM. So I after that, I employed Candy. I rang her on Australia Day in the afternoon. I said, hey, I sent her a text. Hey, I know it's Australia Day. You want to come work for me? I've seen your resume there. It looks pretty good. She's like, sure, I'll be in tomorrow. So at that stage, we're in our house. Our office was at our house at Tannum. There's a little table, and Ali was pregnant and everything was happening. And she came in, and I had another admin lady, and the admin lady's like, oh, it'll be 2 weeks to show you what to do. But after the first day, Candy's like, you can go home now. I've got this sorted. So Candy went through and chased all the invoices that hadn't been paid and found a couple of $100,000 worth of things, and went back and checked everyone's super. And I had to ring a lot of people and say, hey, mate, your super wasn't right. I'm going to sort it out. I just need to let you know. And everyone was pretty cool about the people that hadn't got paid. I was just honest with everyone. And I was like, fuck, there's some people there that are not going to be happy about this. And so they shouldn't be. My super was the last to get paid, and I was happy with that. I didn't have any toys. Everything I, bought was the business. I didn't have any. I was running this really old ute, and in Gladstone, not having a ute like everyone else's was a big thing at the time. A little busted ass, little Hilux, 2012, probably 2007 model, dinted doors, and she was pretty trashed. Anyway, and I didn't want to get rid of it. I was like, yeah, it does the job. Goes, so but some of the clients like, oh, if you're going to bring that onto my site and it burns my site down, we're going to have a bit of trouble. And I was like, oh, so they're saying, we're paying you for a ute, go get yourself a new ute. So I went and got a newer ute, and I was happy with that, but I was not a flashy things. I was quite happy with what was going and working. The company just one day, it felt like everything just fitted. There was just really good people in it. There's a lot of people that have put a lot of into it, past and present, that are there. We've had a lot of good ideas. We've helped a lot of people on the way with massive supportive community. So there's just a lot of things we've done. We just you know, as the company grew and grew and grew, I saw all the people around me that were growing. So steadily, we usually run about 100 people now. So it goes up and down with shuts. The most we've had is 140 for a shut. So um, we've got about 3,000 tonne of gear. We own it all. There's a lot of gear. There's a lot of gear in the yard at the moment. We started Cogsy, which is probably one of the major things that we've done in the company. So we saw a big need to keep being a major player in the community and raise the bar for everybody else. And we started that so that we could separate high-risk solutions from our project work and understand, and you know, because some people didn't like the fact that we're a company and stuff like that. So we turned it into a non-for-profit. For 2 years, we just paid for it ourselves. We were quite happy with that. Equipped came along and said they were shutting down. There was an opportunity to get some money. We turned into a non-for-profit, worked from there. They gave us $300,000. We've still got 230,000 of that, and we've put 50 kids through courses this year. So my goal was to use that money to put 50 kids through courses. So that money's still there. I'm trying to make that money grow. I'm trying to do things that are sustainable. So it's so it actually makes money as well and puts that money back into the community. Just now we're at a point where it's a pretty decent business and it takes us a lot to run every day, but there's people in there that run it. There's eight managers in the company, and just every little section goes well. I've had to get a part-time CFO. So every month I have a meeting with a part-time CFO that goes through report cards, utilization, everything like that. So I understand all that stuff, and I can, why is this? So I look at things a little bit differently. If I had my way, I'd just retreat to running Cogsy and doing everything like that. But there's a lot of cool people running that too now. I've got Beck Smith on board, and I've got a young junior working there. High-risk solutions are just, it's consumed my life. Gone of the times where I'm vomiting at night when you're thinking about how much money's involved and paying people and making sure you don't mess up, or having a community having something wrong, like a complaint from a big company in town and things like that. So it wasn't easy. Where we've got to, I'm happy. We've turned down some big projects lately because I'm happy with the way the business is going and I know the numbers, and I don't see a structured thing. I don't see anything more becoming. I see more problems than, 100 people is a really good number for me. If I want to be profitable, I need to jump to 300. I don't really want to jump to 300. I quite enjoy my family weekends and all the things like that. One of the biggest things is being happy. Like, having a company that's happy, and you can never keep everybody happy, but just trying to keep a good culture in the business. And if I had to go up to 300, I don't think I'd have that culture, because I'd have to employ people that I don't really agree with. So it's pretty full on.
There's so many questions, and I had to ask, and you pretty much already just nailed them in the head. Like, one of them is definitely going to be like, how do you run a company of that size, like 100 people, and keep everyone happy? I guess you could say it's just having management and people. There's a lot of work behind the scenes anyway. A lot of people don't see the keep the company running.
Yep.
And obviously the hours you're putting in would just have to be
massive.
In the stress.
But it's not just me putting in the hours. There's a lot of other people like, so the biggest thing like lately is, if you don't hold the people accountable that aren't doing the right thing, the good people will get pissed off. And if the good people get upset, they won't do what everyone they're doing. So if everyone else is working at 120%, why can some work at 60? And we had that in the shutdown we were just at. There was a certain amount of people that worked harder than the others, and at the end of it, the other people don't work for us. And I'm taking all the guys I've offered everyone and their families to go to Great Keppel Island for a day trip. So I think we're about 90 people now that are coming across. So we're gonna have a good day. We're gonna have a lunch. We're gonna do things. A few of us are staying over at the caravan park after it, and just spend time with your families. Tomorrow we've got a Father's Day lunch at the Tannum Sands beach. So I'll chuck down the Argentinian grill. I'll take that down there, and we'll just get pretty barbecuing, things like that. You'll never keep everyone happy, and that's what I realised. But if you're fair, and you honestly try, and if people have a problem, like we have beers on after work all the time, so there's always beers there, and it's one of the last companies I know to do that. But I always sit out there and talk to the boys, and if people have got a problem at the shutdowns, I do breathos in the morning and in the night. So if people have got a problem, I can fix it there and then. I say, oh yeah, sweet, I'll get onto that right now. And the thing is, letting things linger. You'll never get everything right, but there's just having a lot of good people and wanting to go to work each day is a massive thing when you work with people that want to go to work. And I believe that there's a lot of really good people in it, and it's easy to bring people across or get people up here when you show them where we live and what we do. So we've just started a new social media campaign. We've employed somebody who can spell, which is a bit different to me. So the social media looks a little bit different now, and there's some really cool stuff going up there. So keeping people happy is a hard one.
You're dealing like your clients are clients like NRG, QAL. They're turning over hundreds of millions, even billions a year, and you are getting those complaints. How do you deal with that? Like, how do you make them happy again? Almost, you have to go a bit of above and beyond, would you say, to be able to bring them back to a happy level with like
definitely.
high-riskers?
I feel that we're one of the better scaffold companies out there that have the least amount, but we're not incident and problem free. Everyone's got it, and we're dealing with humans, and that just happens. Hitting the nail on the head straight away, dealing with it straight away, and getting to them and being honest with them. Hey mate, yeah, this happened. We fixed this, and going to them with a solution is the best thing we could do. And nine times out of 10, they're very busy, and they're just like, all right, well, he's dealt with it, and I've got a pretty good HSE team to work with things. And sometimes I had a little incident a couple of months ago with some boys get on the piss and roll a car. Unfortunately, they're not with the company anymore. But it was a Monday night, and when I talked to them about it, why are we on the piss on a Monday night? And there was no good answers there. So yeah.
Obviously, also a lot of what you do, there's a lot of training involved. Obviously, to get all the certificates and all the safety certificates and qualifications. What's that look like? Are you just going through another company, someone like Narbil, or to do all that training?
So we spread out far and wide.
Yep.
We use everybody in town and try and give a little bit to everybody. So I think we spent $300,000 or $350,000 on training and medicals last year. So knowing your numbers with that kind of stuff. So I always love to upskill my boys. So if I used to do it, if you stay with me 12 months, I'll give you a ticket. Now it's pretty much if you've been around long enough and you want to upskill yourself, I really like to see the boys dual ticketers, so scaffolder riggers. Boys that get truck licenses that have held licenses that can get them. I don't mind that. So I'm not shy on upskilling people. People say, oh, what about if they leave you? I said, well, what about if they don't? What about if you look after them? So I use pretty much everyone in town. I don't I just, hey, who's on next, and let's go. So the money gets spread far and wide, and there's enough in this town. Like all of the training providers do pretty well and look after us. So we're happy to give them all our money.
And looking into scaffolding a bit more, like every Australian's probably got a bit of an idea what scaffolding is, but there's definitely more to it than just, putting up, I guess you can say, platforms for others to work on. If you were to go and there's a big range too of just like you got your riggers, if you would be able to break it down and like even some of the biggest jobs you've done and the time frames that it takes to be able to build those structures, like around the big tanks at QAL or sites at NRG, what are we looking at there?
So the way I used to say it when I was little is we erect, maintain and design safe working platforms for our clients. So when people visualize that, so we're an access company really. So we have hoists, we have elevators, we have everything to give people access to somewhere they can't usually work to. But the biggest thing is people with vision. So you see some of our best scaffolders just have vision, and they can see it. They look up there and they're like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that'll work. And they can sit there and look at it, and you're pretty sure 99% of the time it's exactly what. And then they go back to the draftsman, and Damo's in there with his little CAD program making it happen. And getting it to where we want. So he puts the pen to the paper, is another scaffolder, and then gives them a picture, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, sweet. Does that work?" They're like, "Yeah, that works." And then they're like, "Okay, send it to an engineer." And sometimes the engineer has questions for the boys, and it's funny when you see a guy that can't read and write explaining to an engineer what the dead load's going to be and stuff like that. And yeah, mate, no, they can't do that. They need to put an extra standard on it for the deck, and it needs tires here and here, and it's pretty cool. So you're seeing from a very young age in my scaffolding, I saw people talking to engineers, and I was like, Jesus, that guy went to school. That guy went to uni for 5 years, and this dude doesn't look like he's that well educated. And yeah, he's giving him the kilonewtons for a dynabolt that's going in to hold a swing stage over a high-rise building. So there's it's a lot more. When I started scaffolding, you pretty much had to have a parole officer and a neck tattoo. Now it's gone. Now it's a different thing. Now it's a good industry. In Gladstone, it definitely is. It's a industry where you can buy a house for your kid, like for your family. You can have a good lifestyle. You can afford to do the things you want, and that's pretty cool.
Yep. Just the time frame of and some of the biggest structures you've built. What could you give me an example of what that looks like?
So scaffolding is the first people there and the last ones to leave. So let's just say Demex up in Rocky, we just did a high rise in the middle of Rockhampton. Major hard work. You're in the main street. Everybody's around. There's just everything you could think of could go wrong. You've got pedestrians going past. You've got, it was pretty crazy. But the build took a couple of months, and then they had it up for 6 months, and then they stripped it. So you go down to the yacht club, and it was about a 3-month build and about 18 months up, and then it came down. So it's just constant. Like you're putting things up and you're taking it down. You're moving to another job, but no day's ever the same. You can go one day at Easter time. A guy called me. He's like, I need 4 blokes on a ship and scaffold now. They've got to build a scaffold over the side of the ship to fix something. Can you have the guys ready to leave in an hour? And I was like, hey, who wants to go on a ship for 3 to 4 days? And all these dudes like, yep, let's go. And they got paid. It was Good Friday. They got paid from the time they left to the time they got back on penalties. So they all cleaned up and had a great time. Anyway, they built the scaffold and they had the wrong welder. And when they went to weld it, the welder didn't work. So these boys have been out there for 3 days, built the scaffold in rough seas. They've dropped the pallet into the water, picked it back up. All this stuff's happened. And then they built a perfect scaffold, everything like that. And then they didn't get to do the job. And they're like, nah, pack it up. We're going home. So sometimes you have, sometimes you have down things like that. But we have different things to make things easier. So we have a scaffold hoists. So in the boiler, we put 2 hoists up next to each other that run next to each other, and one's got gear in it. One's getting loaded up. So instead of all the boys having to pass the thing, I think it's like 1 million components that get passed through hands that get saved. So at the end of the shutdown, it is a little slower, but at the end of the shutdown, it's a lot safer than having 16 people pass gear, because if somebody drops something, someone gets tired, something. So the client wants to see that, and that's a pretty cool thing.
Coming back to all the hours, and obviously to build a company like this, it's not just an 8-hour day, 5 days a week. It's 12, even 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. With all that, and you got your family, and you're doing your Ironmans, and everything you are doing for the community, which is a thing of its own. How are you balancing everything in your life together? How do you juggle it?
1 minute at a time. Probably the biggest thing is at the start, I didn't differentiate. Like someone gave me some advice once where you take your boots off, leave your shit at the front door. Probably understood that when I was a bit older. I didn't understand that when I was young, and I was hungry and I was hustling and I was trying to get that. But, I spend a lot of time with my kids. I've got a Latin missus, so, she's always pushing for family time and stuff like that, which is an awesome thing. My kids are very independent, but my son does swimming, nippers, started boxing, true fit, a paper run, and footy. So like he's just a busy kid. My daughter does 3 different types of dancing, so that everyone's moving in our house. It's not like no one's sitting still doing things. Um, the family life balance, probably one of the biggest things at the start was I didn't look after myself that well, and I ended up getting diabetes and getting up to about 150, 155 keg. Um, I did go and get, I couldn't get rid of it. I kept shaking it and things like that. I did get the gastric bypass about 3 years ago. I was able to maintain my weight, lose diabetes, work on things, have a better lifestyle. I changed from drinking Canadian Club to tequila. So it was the sugars. So that was the big thing. But, you know, owning a business, you never switch off. You're just always thinking about something that could go wrong, something could go right. But just trying to have some quality time with your kids at home, with your wife. My wife's a very busy person too. When she's not running around doing salsa, she's doing something else. And, you know, so we're very, very busy people. And that, I think that probably makes it great too, because I remember in the COVID, I was at home for one day. I was like, nah, fuck this. So my boys are at work, I'm at work. So I sat in the office and I organised things, and people that were sick, I took them groceries. I made sure we were doing things. I made sure we had work. I made sure everything, and, you know, still had time to go take my kids to the beach in the afternoons and things like that. But I just remember walking around town, and I was one of the only people walking around town. I'd go to Gomez. I was like the only dude there, and he was, hey, he just wanted to talk to someone, and you know, I'd go grab boys some lunch and stuff like that. And we had no one in the office; everyone was working from home. I just kept going in there and just saying, look, if people are going to be out there working for us, I need to be here to do this. And, you know, yeah. So there's balance, making sure that everyone's happy. That's another hard one. But, you know, I've got 2 kids. I'm trying to make sure they're not brats. I don't know how that's going, but I went from Bart to Homer very quick having a kid. So, but, you know, everybody working with your own son's the hardest thing in the world. So, yeah.
Is that also when you kind of edged into Ironmans as well? When you were signing
Yeah,
up?
after that. So what happened was my missus says, it's either salsa dancing or you go and do a triathlon with a friend at Tanham. So I'll take the triathlon, thanks. So I went down and did the triathlon. I was like, yeah, I like this. You know, it was hard, but I just, and it was a little one. And then I did another big one. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to do one in Rocky. I'm going to do one in Yeppoon. I'm going to do one in Billawheeler, like Emu Park, and then started doing them. And then I was like, oh, I might try Noosa. And it's an addictive thing. You're around people that were proactive, that were trying to do better in their life. And I was like, you know, on the first day, there was a couple of guys there, and they're like, oi, we're the guys that drink beer and don't shave our legs. I said, oh, I found my people. So it was pretty cool. So, but just through that, like one of the times I remember at Yeppoon, Jack Smith was running in, and I hadn't even, you know, I was just coming back on my bike. I hadn't even had a run yet. I was like, wow. And then all the guys from Gladstone waited around for me. And as I came through the run, they all high-fived me on the last bit as you come through. And, you know, there was like all the Gladstone, probably 10 or 15 people. And I was like, oh, that was cool. You know, like, so I've always tried to do that for other people. And yeah, it was, it just that. And then I I did the Harvey Bay 100. I did the Harvey Bay 100, and I did that in 6.5 hours, 100 Ks. You know, it's slow for a lot of people, but I was stoked. I made the mistake of riding 6Ks there and riding 6Ks back. So I went to ride my bike back. I said, I think I'm just going to lie down under the tree for a little while and have a rest. And my wife rang me, and I was like, I'm just having a kip under the tree. She's like, oh, you're tired. That's not usual. I said, I just did 100 Ks and I've got to ride 6Ks home. So I jumped in the pool and rested, and I was like, oh, that's all right. And then I went back, and all the boys were on the beers and that. And I was like, oh, no, not today, boys. It drove home that night. And then same with the marathon. I went and did a marathon in Noosa with a friend of mine. I did that, and I was like, I probably saw more carnage on a marathon than an Ironman. And I was like, ooh. And then yeah, when I drove home after that, I was at work the next day. I was walking upstairs. The lift was broken at Cement Australia, and I was walking up these stairs. I was like, oh, that's a fair way. So feeling the pain, but I just really enjoy it. I just enjoy flogging myself with that kind of sport and that kind of thing. So I'm really spewing. I miss out on the one next week, but getting your kidney stones blasted out and your health is probably probably a little bit more important, then I'll find another one. So, yeah.
100%. I feel like that's one thing that happens when a lot of people get involved in their businesses. They neglect their health for a long time, and they all they're doing is business. There's no even just activities, whether it's even like martial arts or something where they can even just take their mind off business. Is that what you find a Fireman too? You can kind of get away from it for a bit.
So I train for a couple of hours a day, and when I'm in the pool, I can't be on my phone. When I'm running or swimming, running or riding, sometimes I pick up, like press my button and talk to people. Sometimes I hit on do not disturb, but that's my time, and that's what I need, that time to switch off. And I do think about things in that time, but loud music and hard work, I just gone. So yeah. So pretty but looking after myself, I still carry a bit of mud, but I have a good life too. I'm not a diehard that's just sitting there, counting my calories and things like that. I know that I knock up about 10 hours a week. Lately I've been because I haven't been able to go anywhere, I've been on the rowing machine. So I've been trying to get that 10,000 meters a day. So I'm like, sweet. So it's and it doesn't come up on Strava and all that. When you talk to all the boys, they're like, you haven't been doing anything. It's like, see, yeah. So just want to try and keep some level of fitness when I'm back in there. But there's a lot of really good people that hold me accountable. So there's a lot of guys that, oh yeah, how'd your run go and stuff like that. And that's being in that, like I cooked up with a crew in Rocky, one of my first big triathlons, and they just, they put me in their group chat and we always talk and they always give each other shit. And, it's really Aussie way. So, if somebody does something good, if they don't, but they're everybody's kind of watching you. So you feel like you need to do what you're there to do. And coming up to March, doing that full Ironman, in Port Macquarie as well. Like I met some people there, like that is the worst place to do an Ironman. It's got hills. I'm like, I don't think anywhere's a good place to do an Ironman. So they're like, oh, you want a flat one? I'm like, it's kind of, the whole point is I'm going to be beaten either way. When I went to Cairns, I went back at the end of the full Ironman and watched the guys that didn't make it, that came in on the last half an hour. And that was probably enough motivation for me to really step up my notch a little bit. And probably one of the reasons I went to the doctor about my kidney stones and not just said, I'll do it after the Ironman. When I spoke to my doctor the other day, the doctor said, yeah, you could have probably got kidney failure doing that. And I was like, okay, so as tough as we are and want to be guys that can walk it off, sometimes we need to go and get help and listen to our bodies.
So I've met you through Rotary Club, which is just Rotary Club itself is just insane. Like I've only done 4, and the knowledge and wisdom in that room is beyond my imagination. And even in Gladstone, I was someone growing up thinking that Gladstone was kind of like nothing. I always neglected Gladstone, and now as I get older, the more I appreciate growing up in this town. And through Rotary Club, every night you're there, you're just talking about how can we help the community. And I guess that comes back to, what was it that you mentioned earlier that you're doing for the kids, the students, 50 students?
Cogsy,
yep.
Community Gladstone supporting youth.
Yep. So can you go a bit more into that, what you're trying to achieve there, what your goals are in your future vision?
World domination. No. So the thing is, I wasn't the best student. Teachers told me, you're going to end up in jail. You're going to be nothing. You're going to be nothing in your life. Obviously, I'm a person that works on hate pretty well and haters. And I'm like, yeah, we'll see. So, but there's a lot of kids there that just need a push in the right direction and some people to push them in the right direction. And I honestly believe that we're not creating productive people anymore. And I feel that our country will go into a depression very shortly if people don't start doing things. We're not creating people that are thinking about, everybody wants to take the easy way out and do the easy things. No one wants to do the hard work anymore. And, we need blue collar workers to run our country. We need chippies, we need mechanics, we need nurses, we need all these things that are the front line of what Australia is. And that's what Australia used to be. But we're not doing that anymore. A lot of people are just thinking that there's easier ways. And a lot of people want to take that easier option. So there's a lot of kids out there that are highly motivated that didn't fit in at school, and they think that because they didn't do well in school, the school system, they failed. When we get those kids, so the course at Deploy runs for me. So big shout out to Lachy at Deploy. She does an amazing job with the kids. She runs a 6-week program with the young veterans, and they teach kids how to weld, work in heights, confined spaces, white card. Sometimes they're going for money management, teaches them how to get ready for shutdowns. She takes them out to site, shows them shale oil, shows them GLNG, shows them red mud dam, and takes these kids out, gets them ready for work, and then we try and find them work. Um, I think there's 38 gone through, and there's 6 more going through in that course. So there's plenty of other courses we run. We used to run Eco Man course, which is about business development. We used to take kids to Bunnings and put together barbecues at Christmas time, teach them how to hand tools and things like that. We had a CV course. We're actually running a program next year called Waste Aid. So we're going to try and work with all the schools and all the kids in the town, take waste products in Gladstone and make a sustainable business out of it. So have business people mentor them, look at problems that we have in waste and how we can sort it, and get those kids to champion ideas so that after they've finished the program, they know who to talk to, and it's a link for people to get into business and talk to it. One of the big ones was we ran the Careers Expo this year. So the Careers Expo, we chucked in South Gladstone Rotary with it. We had 1,200 kids come there. We had 65 exhibitors. We, instead of the normal someone talk on stage, I had talked to a tradie. So I had a business owner or a boss sitting at a table with 10 places. So we had Alex Gray there. We had Youngie from Young's Building. We had Ben Goodgen from Plumbing Company. We had Jake from Roadpack, Mitch Purcell, Andy Kerr. We had a lot of people there. Lachy, one of the engineers from Alpha. So we had a lot of people there talking to the kids, and they didn't realise that, oh, this is somebody that might employ me in a few years. So, a couple of people have got work experience out of it. So a couple of guys couldn't make it that day, but next year we're trying to do the event outside. So we're going to have diggers, fire engines, everything like that. So people are outside, hands-on, getting to play with things, getting to see what people really do, because we feel that's where a lot of the kids will learn. And the kids that come up from Monto, Rosedale and Ambrose, we're going to try and have a site visit for them. So they can we'll find what one works best for them, and we'll try and get them onto a site so they can walk around a site, have a look at an industry, because last time they just got to go to McDonald's. So they drive all the way here, some of them 2 hours, go to the fair, have McDonald's and go home. Well, that's a bit of a waste of a day. We could use that, but we ran the logistics to pick up the buses for everybody. We got involved with all the schools. So from that, I met Beck Smith. So she ex-military, ex-QAL, just an absolute legend of a person with a passion for kids, used to work with the schooling system. And she's my first employee at Cogsy, and she helps run everything, facilitate everything, and interlock and people. And I just couldn't get a better person to run the face of it. We're going to run another program next year called Roll Up Your Sleeves from 16 to 18-year-olds, where we teach kids about working on a farm. So we'll give them a 6-week course to work on a farm, and then they can go work on the farm, so that a lot of kids are finding there's nothing to do in that 16 to 18 age, which will stop kids that can running amok and doing things because they can't get a job. They can go out to the farm, learn some responsibility, do some things, make some money, learn worth ethic. And when they come back, if they're 18, they could probably go back into industry if they want, or stay on a farm. Like, a lot of kids want to do agricultural, and we're missing a lot of stuff. People aren't respecting our agriculture as much as it should be. And, there's a lot of people that go down to uni now. Kids are getting picked on from Gladstone for being a primary producer and things like that. And I just don't think some of those kids at the uni realise how Australia started. So I got some big dreams for that, and I'm putting them into place, and I'm around the right people. And, there's been some awesome people that want to help. The first day I ever had the meeting, I got about 50 people into my little office, and I said, this is what I want to do. And then everybody had a different idea. I just said, I think I'm going to go away, make the ideas, and then tell everyone else. And everyone else is really supportive of it. The biggest thing is I'm not taking other people's funding. I was funding it myself. I see a good thing for it. I see a need for it in the town. And, if I've changed 38 people's lives and probably 50 people this year, my goal was 50 people over 2 years, but it's got bigger, and it'll be bigger again next year. And there's just a lot of good supporters, like the young veterans, the combined services. There's just a lot of people into our Latia deploy into jobs. There's just a lot of people that really want to see that go. And now we're talking to all the schools, and we're starting to try and work through the legal problems of getting a program up that's not going to put people in jeopardy. Unfortunately, the Equip program had a student that didn't follow the rules, and it shut down the whole program, and everybody realised how legally open they are to being sued and things like that. I'm not planning on being sued. I'm planning on doing everything right, but it's just a shame that people trying to organise things and help people gets to that point. So big things like it just never stops at Cogsy. I just want to see some really cool stuff there. And one of the big things for us was when the combined services had their touch day. They used Cogsy as the beneficiary, and everybody had a little, say you had 400 people with Cogsy shirts on there. There's just been some really cool stuff with that, and a lot of businesses want to get involved. Like there's a lot of people that want to help that and want to see kids come through, get trained. Some of the kids that come through, no one's disadvantaged. Some of the kids are just disengaged, so they just didn't fit in at school, and that's great. So we want to use people's superpowers like ADD and stuff like that to say, okay, you'd be a good worker. You got to get out in the field. This is what you've got to do. We'll work with you. The kids get a folder when they finish, so they get a folder when they start, photos of their worlds, what they've been doing, their skills, what sites they went to, how they learnt, policies and procedures. So it's a really good start for somebody that has no experience to see. They break down the hierarchy of businesses. So kids say, oh, I want to be a boilermaker. They say, oh, why do you want to be a boilermaker? Oh, my dad's a boilermaker. Okay, well, can you do this, this, and this to get here? Or you might have to go this way to get around it because you're reading and writing. Or so there's some really cool things. But we've met some really cool hard workers that have come out of that course, and they just keep surprising me. One of the things is they hold accountability. So they make the kids all have to have a license or going for their license. Most of them are drug tested as well. So if you're going to go into industry, you need that. It's not a tick and flick. Latia's quite tough on them. I think they're rebuilding a gun for the RSL at the moment. I think they're nearly finished it. So they rebuilt a cannon to put in the park at the RSL. So kids are getting around sheet metal, welding, grinding, learning how to fold stuff in our facility over there, and working with Extreme as well. They're doing it in the Extreme yard. So it's just some really cool things happening there. And I just want my son to just think this is what normal life is, so that he thinks, oh, well, that's what I have to do when I get older. I have to help the community, do a job, and make sure that I'm an active part of the community, not a nuisance.
To anyone who's in, say, grade 10, grade 12, everyone's going to uni, they don't know what to do, but they're thinking about going to industry, or even someone who's gone to university, they didn't like it, or even the extreme example, someone's been in a job for 10 years and they're like, screw this, I want to get into the workforce. What's the step-by-step process they could take to be able to be seen by companies and potentially be picked up?
So the biggest thing is sell yourself. So have a look. What I say to everybody is, what have you done different to those 100 people that are going for the application? Have you researched the company online? Have you, when I'm going in to get a new client, I check them out online. I understand all the things. So I remember going into UGL one day and saying, oh, you're the second biggest engineering company in Australia. They're like, who's the first? I said, I didn't Google them. Yeah, it's quite sharp how quick they were too. So,
yep.
I want to know what they've got invested in it. So if I'm going to employ someone, it's going to cost me about 10 grand to get them in the mines and stuff like that. I want to know what they're going to like. I've had some really good people come into the company. Shawnee, one of my young fellas, walked in one day and said, just finished his butcher's career, and he said, I'm going to be a HRS scaffolder, and this is what I want to do, and I want to buy a house. Sweet. Shook his hand, got him and I'd seen him around the joint and stuff like that. He bought his house. He's doing great things for us. He's, just amazing. His brother just started with us the other day. His other brothers worked with us. When you've got more than one person in the family, you're right, because no one's going to bring their brother in if they hate you. Or maybe they will. But there's a lot of young fellas that's worked for us. And the reason I started Cogsy was because I can't employ them all. So and that's the thing. I can't employ everybody, and I take on a lot of young fellas, but there's a lot of people I can't take on as well.
Yep. What's your future and vision for Cogsy High Risk Solutions and even just your life? Like, where do you, if you were to go to the extreme lengths of like 10, 20 years, where do you want to see yourself and all your companies? And
Um, geez, you know, I just look at 10 years at the moment, so to still be running, to not blow it up, to listen to everybody, to listen to the right people, to make sure that you don't come irrelevant as a business. So making a business to 12 years is a massive milestone. You don't realise till you get there. When you hit 10 years and you look at the statistics at how many companies don't last 10 years, um, you know, to be honest to myself. So it's a massive one. So, to say I got through it, I helped people and stuff like that. A lot of people forget help very quickly, and that's okay. You just keep a wide berth of the ones you don't want to, and you keep close to the ones you do. Um, you know, I'd be happy if the business was still turning over money in that time. Um, I don't have any plans to go. I don't have any plans to leave the region. May knock back up to Yeppoon one day. So, but I still do a lot of stuff around here. I am looking for a farm. So I have been looking for a farm, and I want to do aquaponics and teach people about stuff like that as well. So I really want to. I really think food security is going to be the next big thing um, that we need to look at. I am really passionate about nuclear and been pushing that
mm,
pretty hard for the last 3 years. I have a group, and we have meetings, and we work on things, and we talk to people about it. And now that young Will Shackle's got his little group and everything like that, we just support those guys if we need it. So I brought them up when the announcement got made. We had them 2 days after the announcement. We're on Callide taking some videos, doing some stuff. So that was pretty cool. Um, I just really want to see people doing competent things in my business and in Cogsy. I just hope I've still got the team I've got in that time. So I've got some really good people, and you know, life wise, kids will be older then. They'll probably be telling me what to do. They won't be involved in the company. I'm pretty tough on my kids with money and things. I want them to earn their own way in life. I don't want to give them everything and do things, so they'll have to find out what life's like for themselves. I don't want to, even if I did make a lot of money, I'd still try my hardest to teach them lessons to, understand how some of life's realities is. I don't think anyone gets anything by giving it. Hopefully still married. Yeah. That's the one thing about my missus. As soon as we had kids together, she's like, this us now. It's just me and you and the kids, and that's just how it's going to be. And, every relationship has rocky times, but she's the person that's there for me when I need it. And that's, and that took me a long time to realize, how good that is. And yeah, having 20 Latinas around the place is, it's not a bad thing all the time. So it's great for my kids as well. So, yeah.
I would say even like your experiences living in Colombia and going to Spain. I know myself, even like doing parts of Asia and Europe, you tend to realize like how lucky you are to be in Australia as well, like a country that has, like I even see it on the LinkedIn, like the scaffold photo in Spain, like the setup there, and like because they don't really give a shit, eh? It's kind of like.
But the thing is, one thing I learned about Colombia is no one gets hurt, because if you get hurt, you don't have compo. So if you get hurt, your family doesn't eat, and they'll probably divorce you. So they'll, like a lot of the time it's a really thing. So like there's really not as many accidents as I was expecting to see.
Yeah,
there.
okay.
I watched some boys stack bricks next to my missus' car, and I moved the car and I said, hey guys, I'm going to teach you how to stack bricks. And they looked at me, they're like, why do you stack them like that? Anyway, while we were stacking the bricks and restacking it, another pile fell over the other side, and they're like, oh, I was like, how long have you guys been doing this? They're like 5 years. I was like, man, I was a brickie for 2 weeks. No. I've seen a lot of things over there, but the biggest thing that I saw was value for life was not worth anything. I saw a guy shot a guy over a pair of shoes that didn't fit him. And I was just like, wow. But through boxing and doing a bit of MMA over in Colombia, I met a lot of colourful characters, you could say. So we used to walk home from the cinemas at 2 o'clock in the morning with Mrs. Pregnant walking through Bogota, and everyone was really cool with us. You know, it's like there's a hierarchy to the crime over there, and people that live in the community and do things in the community, they're not a target. People that come in, as soon as everybody found out I was Australian, not American, everyone just loved you. They're like, oh, we love Australia. I've got a friend in Melbourne. His name's Rodriguez. And you're like, Melbourne's not that far. Yeah. So, so I got pulled over by a copper once. He was telling me about his cousin, Rodriguez in Melbourne. And I gave him a little Australian badge. And he's like, oh, let me go. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
160 Ks, in a 60 zone. So, so it was, I didn't know. But, yeah, anyway. But opening your eyes, getting overseas for young people is a big thing. And I'd love young kids to open their eyes and have a look at the reef and stuff like that. Like when you get out and you see 1770, and, you know, one big thing we did talk about when we came back, because I had so many friends commit suicide, we talked about depression in Colombia versus depression in Australia. And I said, how come the numbers are so low in Colombia and they've got so many people? And my wife said to me, because everybody's trying to eat. She said, everybody's trying to live. Everybody's trying to everyone's got a mate who gives you a $70 haircut. Everybody's got somebody that gives you food. They're so ingrained in trying to help people live. They don't have time to think about all the things that we have. And it's so true. A lot of the younger generation here have too much time. You know, everybody's hustling to try and make sure that your mum doesn't get kicked out of their house, that you've got food on your table, that you're looking after your mate. And, you know, people will back your car in for a couple of cents, you know, to where the car spot, and they'll look after your car for a couple of coins. And, you know, everybody was doing something when I was over there. You just don't see people not doing anything. You got people with no legs and one arm crawling along on wheels trying to sell something to you. And you're just like, man, these guys are having a go. Like, you know, and just that was a massive eye opener for me, seeing young kids' ability to hustle. And I always thought to myself, if I ever did leave Australia and go back to Colombia for some reason, I'd start a scaffold company, because all their homeless guys are fit as, and they're all just big dudes. Like the Venezuelan refugee crisis was just starting to happen there, and there was a lot of Venezuelans there, and they were like asking for food. They weren't asking for money. They were asking for food. So I used to go out and just buy everybody food, and, you know, just 10 or 15 guys just go get them food and then just walk off. And these dudes, so I was thinking, man, if I had you guys working, you know, and they were out there and they were all standing there looking for work and jobs and stuff like that. And they had piles of their own money that was worth nothing in their country. They're trying to swap money and stuff like that. But, you know, like here, some people ask you for money. You know, like I hate giving people money, but when someone asks you for food, it's a totally different story, because you know what they're trying to do. They're trying to feed themselves, their family, you know, and that's something that resonated with me, the different level of what people are asking for. So I don't know. We're lucky to live in Australia, and, you know, we're lucky to live in central Queensland. I think COVID taught us a lot about where we live and how lucky we are with beef there and vegetables and everything in Bundaberg. So, you know, if we do get blocked off, we're pretty sweet.
Yep.
So.
And I love how you said that too. Like, we got the reef here, and we got so much, like, even for myself, first time just going up to Yellow Patch and just climb the big sand dune there, and you're like, far out. Like, you never know, like, how beautiful it is here. Unfortunately, in Gladstone, all you can really see is the harbour. But when you actually just go out the front there, like, it's just beautiful.
Have you ever seen that meme, the cat that's stuck in the cage and it's got no lid? There's a cage. It's in like one of those boxes with a cage at the front, but there's no lid on it. The cat's looking at the gate trying to get out. When I think of that. So, funny story. We went to Yellow Patch with Rotary. First time on a Rotary trip with the boys, fishing adventure. And me being new to central Queensland, swimming on dusk around the thing, talking to people in the yachts and stuff like that are parked up there. This fisher comes up. He goes, "Hey, you want to see a cool photo?" I said, yeah, sure. What is it? I said, "Look at that." I said, "Oh, what's that?" He's like, "That's a 16-foot tiger I caught here 2 days ago." I just pretty much did the JC out of the water. The next day, the boys were saying to me, "Want to go for a swim, mate?" I said, "I'm cool. I'll just wash off in the shallows." So it was quite a good fishing adventure, and a lot of good fellowship, you could say there. So a little bit of drinking and a little bit of fishing, but it was just good fellowship to be with a lot of those people that have done so much in the town.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding with Rotary too. Like, that's why I love it so much. Like, just being able to talk to those blokes. Like even talking to old Tom the other night, like doing his time in Papua New Guinea for the Salvation Army, like the stories and just the wisdom too. It's just
Tom's my favourite. You know, the stories, I've picked his brain for the last 8 years I've been there. And, you know, telling stories about growing up on the porch and sleeping on the porch and knowing how big Campbelltown is now. And, you know, going there and seeing people that are motivated. I used to go up and watch him muster and stuff like that. And I've gone up and helped him a few times on the house. There was a time they needed gutters, so we went and built scaffold up there and got his gutters fixed for him. But, you know, if he's still a young man's mind trapped in an old man's body, and he just wants to keep going. And, you know, at 78 or whatever he is now, I saw him, I first gave him a ladder because I saw him climbing up on trying to fix the nets on the thing. I said, you know what? I've got an old ladder. Here's a ladder. This clips into the top. You know, you just, and he was only 72 then. So, you know, but you're just seeing and hearing, if you ever go out to his farm, hearing how he sold his property. So he just packed up his house on a truck, moved it to the top of the hill and rebuilt it on top of the hill. And he's got 33 offspring and just, yeah, some amazing people. And just, yeah, my grandpa actually built his wife's house back in Campbelltown.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, so on my mum's side, so like we were talking one day with his sister-in-law and she's like, oh, they built our farm when we were kids. I was like, oh. So, you know, just listening to that history that he has and how he talks about the next generation and, you know, not willing and things like that. I just, I really want to push everything. And, you know, he did scouts and cubs and all that kind of things, which I did as a kid. And, you know, the camaraderie and the people that you meet through that was pretty cool. And he's just given a life of service. And you just you look at this stuff like PNG would have been a rough place back then, and going over there and building all these hospitals and building all these things for the Red Cross. He's just an iconic man. And yeah, I think him telling his story is a really good thing for us to hear, so we can pass it on as well.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I want to start contributing to Rotary. Like just showing, like, because that's a big topic at the moment. Obviously, like a lot of people in Rotary are a lot older, and there's not many young people coming through. So be able to just like show that the people are like unfortunately with social media these days, everyone thinks like they know it all. Yeah. They don't need to talk to these older fellas, but
do they? Nah.
Well, that's the thing. Unfortunately, a lot of people, yeah, they do think they're wizards from just watching one YouTube video. And I was probably one of those people for some time. And just like I was even talking to someone last night, one of my mentors, like watching, say, a billionaire talk about how to make money, or even just like networking on a podcast versus talking to someone who's just running a successful business in person, like the difference in energy you exchange with that person and the understanding you get is just like on another level. You'll never
100%. And you know, if you talk to people like that, like, and you're in their presence and you just see the aura that they've got and how they just, you know, and how much respect they've got just walking into the room. Like I've met some people that are some high roles. I remember meeting Twiggy Forrest when he was first on the scene. He was on a normal plane going up to Newman, and not in his own jet or anything like that. And I was having a yak with him at the back of the plane, and he was just, oh yeah, talking to me, talking to everyone, and you know, just shaking hands. Everyone knew who he was. He was big back then, but not like now.
Yeah.
You know, there's just heaps of people there. You know, I've reached out to people on LinkedIn before on the Platinum, and they've got back to me, and I'm like, whoa, you know, like that's cool. I remember I reached out to Dick Smith once, and he got back to me, and Dick Smith's like, yeah. We just started chatting and stuff like that. I was, you know, so yeah, I think those people are just want to be surrounded by people that are having a go as well, and I think people having a go are few and far between now. So when you're having a go and people can see that, people are like, oh yeah, that's cool. So yeah.
And I think another problem too is, again, with social media, everyone's rich, everyone's got the sports cars and all that, and the idea of what success is to a lot of people, like just having a happy family, going to work every day with people that you enjoy being around, is something that people don't really appreciate anymore. I guess from a worldview, people don't view it as successful in the Western society anyway. Like you have to have the Ferrari to be successful now.
I think that'll change in the next few years. I think that people's debt levels will change. And I think that a lot of people will get caught out because the problem is in society that it's okay to owe the banks money, and it's okay to have that debt. But as you said, what's wealth and what's I think one of the biggest things is loyalty and honorably. So doing some stuff, and there's a little book club that I do some stuff with, and they talk about a lot of different values and stuff like that. And there's pretty crazy people in it. It's overseas, and there was a trip the other day in Geneva where they went ice glacier climbing and went back, find cigars and whiskey, and then fired firearms for 3 days. So I was like, okay, yeah. So they're like sharing books and stuff. I was like, I might get involved with these people. So it's just some pretty cool things. But I think that the whole world, who you are at home when the door's shut and the social media's off, is an important thing as well. You've got to be true to yourself and doing things. Like I went through a phase there where I stopped posting things on social media because I was copping a lot of shit about posting good things that happening in my business, and a couple of people said, "Oh, you look like you're bragging." I said, "Fuck it, I should be bragging." I'm surrounded by good people doing good things. Like I used to post new cars when I got them on there and stuff like that. I don't do that anymore. I try and post things on LinkedIn about charity stuff I do, but lately I just put up some pretty cool scaffolds because I was proud of my team for doing it. And it's just some really amazing people that I'm around every day. So, and I want to share that. So it's pretty cool.
I think that's just the Australian tall poppy syndrome.
100%.
You're going to get copied everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's crazy when you talk to Americans, because they celebrate everything.
Yeah. Hey, let's go fire 5,000 rounds.
That's the thing, eh? And I feel like you'll never hate someone. Or I think people, I'm not sure what the saying is. You never hate someone who's doing less than you or more than you. I can't remember how the saying goes, but pretty much if someone's hating you, it's a good sign anyway that you're doing well.
I run off hate. I still remember when I went to leave the company I was with in Western Australia to come over here, and my wife hadn't got here yet. I was over doing a couple of shutdowns in Western Australia, and this guy says, "Hey, can I talk to you for a sec, Nunny?" I said, "Yeah, sure." He said, "Well, mate went over to Queensland. He's smarter than you, richer than you, and he lost everything. And you probably should just stay here and keep working with me on the shutdowns." I said, "Can you do me a favour, mate?" He said, "What's that?" I said, "Never give anyone advice again." I said, "You're like the shittest advice giver." I said, if somebody comes to you for advice, just tell them you're not the man." And I ran with that, and my mate was just pissing himself laughing. He was standing behind me. This is in front of 70 blokes. Like, he pulled me aside and said in front of 70 blokes on a shutdown. I was sitting there teaching people how to fill in a swims, and I'm not the best reader writer. I was showing people how to put a swing gate on, and I was like, if this is what you got, I don't want to be there. So, but I just remember that advice, and I just was around so many good people. I remember we were in Western Australia one day with a friend of mine. I was staying on his floor while Ali hadn't come over yet, doing shuts and stuff, and he's like, "We got to swim out to that boy for your first contract. You've got to do it." And I was like, when we were at Scarborough or something, I was like, "Fuck, we're probably going to get eaten by a shark." And he's like, "Go do it." So we both swam out there, and that's the Australian thing too. You pump your mates up, and you're around things like that's the thing that you do, and that's and the person that you sleep with, your partner in life is a massive thing for who's successful and who's not. If you've got a partner that looks further in front of you and has your best interests, that's good. If you have a partner that is toxic and just wants to see you crash and burn, that's you're never going to get to as far. So at having that team environment and having that person that protects you and looks after you, and when you get home and you're just broken in so many ways in life, and you're like, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry, you're a pussy, you'll be right, get back out there tomorrow." And, I still remember the first day I got in all my gear and I went out to Gladstone, and she said, "Break your legs." I said, "It's break a leg." And she's like, "No, it's break your legs." And I just laughed. And just so many things have happened to me just being around good people and just talking to people, just getting out there and having a go. You go out there. Like, I remember when I got all the overalls one day, when it first happened, somebody gave a container load of brand new overalls to the salvos, and And someone rang me from the salvo. I said, "Oh, you boys all wear yellow overalls, don't you?" I said, "Oh, we've just been given a container. You want to buy it off me?" I went around and said, "How much?" She's like, "Give us $1,000 for it." I said, "I'll give you 4." Like, and I knew it was a lot more with the stuff. So I've still got some of the overalls in there, in my yard. No one uses them, but I've only got big size. But that helped because everyone was wearing flash overalls. Everyone was neat and tidy. I did get a badge put over them, but running on a shoestring and being proud of that till you get going is not something that you have to worry about. And it's a big thing to feel pride in your company and feel pride of what you're doing, like believing you're doing the right thing. And you're making a better tomorrow is definitely something that's got me through some hard nights and tough.
To close out this bloody awesome podcast with yourself, what if you were to give anyone some words of wisdom for if they're struggling or they don't know what to do, if they're in a hard time, what would you say to them?
Be around people that want to see you succeed. Follow your dreams, put it down on paperwork, and have a go. The biggest thing is if you're around good people, good things happen. It's if you're around people that constantly doubt you and tell you can't do anything, there's no point being there. It's just it's all about the old saying, if you lie with dogs, you get fleas. It's just have good people around you, have good friends around you, and have good thoughts. Be in positive things. So go for a walk in the morning. If you've got nothing to do, you should be out looking for work or looking for something to do, and just being out there, because 90% of the thing is showing up. If you show up every day and you're looking every day and I could have sat at home and got on the phone, but I didn't. I went out and I met people and everyone knew me as that annoying bloke. All my boys used to say, he's worse one of those guys trying to get kids off you for Africans at the shopping centre. They said every time he sees a high-vis shirt, he's like, boosh. But that was my MO, and that's how I got going, and that's how I met engineers and how I met people, and people like, oh, yeah. No one ever wanted to answer their phone to me at the start. That was hard. You just like ring and ring and ring it. And then suddenly when people needed things, they were answering. I was like, things are changing, So when I got a reputation, but getting that reputation was hard. But, when I got into Rotary and I found an in through there and I heard about projects coming up and I heard about things and I met some crazy people, and I heard the things that Bruce Hunt did, Gordon Gill's wife did, just being around good people was just a massive thing for me. And, some of those old blokes that have had their day that want to pass the torch on, but don't have it. Like I was the first young bloke in Rotary, then Alex came. Just before that, there was like a 40-year gap between me and that. And I was like rocking up there and just having a kid. I said, oh, this is the first legitimate kid here in 40 years. So they just being me, I don't, I'm me, and all the old guys have just accepted that now, and it's awesome. So I hope more young people come to Rotary, and I hope I've tried to bring a few through, but they just haven't gelled with it. But I just be around good people and have a go. That's the biggest thing. So, and believe in yourself. If no one else does, just believe in yourself. Get out there and sell it.
100%. Well, I appreciate your time.
Cheers.
That was bloody awesome, and wish you the best.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Thank you for having me on.
No worries.